Hey, what's up everyone? Today I'm going to tell you a story that's going to shake you to your core. This is the true story of what happened on June 28, 2005 in the mountains of Afghanistan. A story about 4 Navy SEALs who were sent on a reconnaissance mission and ended up facing one of the most brutal battles in modern military history. This is about courage, sacrifice, brotherhood, and survival against impossible odds. The story of Operation Red Wings. So grab something to drink, sit down and pay close attention, because what you're about to hear actually happened. The Hindu Kush mountains in Afghanistan are unforgiving. Jagged peaks that reach over 10,000 feet, covered in pine forests so dense that sunlight barely touches the ground. In June 2005, these mountains became the setting for one of the most heroic and tragic operations in Navy SEAL history. Lieutenant Michael Murphy, 29 years old, stood in the briefing room at Bagram Air Base. Next to him were 3 of his brothers. Petty Officer Marcus Luttrell, 29, a Texan known for his determination. Petty Officer Matthew Axelson, 29, from California, quiet but deadly efficient. And Petty Officer Danny Dietz, 25, from Colorado, the youngest but one of the most talented communications specialists in the teams. "Gentlemen," the intelligence officer began, pointing at the map. "This is Ahmad Shah, a high-value Taliban commander operating in Kunar province. He's responsible for multiple attacks on coalition forces. Your mission is simple: insert into the Sortalo Sar mountain, establish observation, and provide intel for a larger operation." It was called Operation Red Wings, a 4-man reconnaissance and surveillance team. They called it a soft compromise mission. Get in, watch, report, get out. Standard SEAL operations, but nothing about that day would be standard. On the morning of June 27, 2005, a MH-47 Chinook helicopter flew low through the valleys, the rotors echoing off the mountain walls. Inside, the 4 SEALs sat in silence, each man lost in his own thoughts. They carried over 80 pounds of gear: weapons, ammunition, radios, water, medical supplies, everything they would need to survive alone in enemy territory. 2 minutes? The crew chief shouted over the roar of the engines. Murphy looked at his men and nodded. No words were needed. They had trained together for years. They trusted each other with their lives. The helicopter hovered just feet above the ground in a small clearing. The 4 SEALs fast roped down into the darkness and immediately disappeared into the tree line. The Chinook lifted off and vanished into the night sky. They were alone now. For the next several hours, the team moved carefully through the forest, climbing higher into the mountains. The terrain was brutal, steep inclines covered in loose rocks that could give away their position with a single misstep. They moved in tactical formation, weapons at the ready, eyes scanning constantly for threats. By dawn, they had reached their observation point, overlooking a village in the valley below. They settled into a defensive position, camouflaged among the rocks and trees. Marcus took the first watch while the others rested. Everything was going according to plan. But at approximately 08:30 hours, everything changed. Danny whispered urgently, "We got company." 3 Afghan goat herders had stumbled directly into their position. An old man and 2 teenagers, their goats wandering through the trees. The herders froze when they saw the 4 heavily armed Americans. Murphy's mind raced through the options in seconds. They could tie them up, but the herders would eventually free themselves and alert the Taliban. They could kill them, but these were unarmed civilians, 3 innocent people whose only crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. "What do we do, sir?" Marcus asked, his weapon trained on the herders. It was an impossible decision, the kind of decision that haunts soldiers forever. Murphy looked at each of his men, then at the terrified herders. "We let them go," Murphy said finally. "We're not murderers. We'll move to a new position and call for exfil." They released the herders and watched them disappear down the mountain with their goats. The SEALs immediately began moving to a new location, but they all knew what was coming. Those herders would go straight to the nearest Taliban fighters. Murphy got on the radio. "Base, this is Red Wings. We've been compromised. Requesting immediate extract, over." The response crackled back. "Red Wings, we're working on it. Give us your coordinates, over." But working on it wasn't fast enough. Less than an hour later, Danny spotted movement in the trees below them. Contact. Multiple fighters moving up the mountain. It wasn't just a few Taliban fighters, it was dozens. Then more appeared from different directions. The SEALs had chosen a defensive position on a rocky slope, but they were being surrounded. "We need to move higher," Murphy ordered. "Get to better cover." They began climbing, but the Taliban were faster, knowing the terrain. The first shots rang out, bullets snapping through the trees. The SEALs returned fire, the sharp crack of their M4 carbines echoing across the valley. "Contact rear," Matthew shouted, spinning to engage fighters coming from behind. They were caught in a coordinated ambush. Taliban fighters, somewhere between 80 and 200 according to later intelligence reports, were converging on their position from three sides. The SEALs were outnumbered at least 20 to 1. Murphy made a decision. "We fight our way up the mountain. Leapfrog movement. Cover each other." It was a fighting retreat, one of the most dangerous maneuvers in combat. Two SEALs would provide covering fire while the other two moved to a better position, then switch, over and over again. But the Taliban kept coming, firing from behind trees and rocks, their AK-47s rattling continuously. RPGs began exploding around the SEAL position, shrapnel tearing through the forest. Danny was hit first. A round caught him in the arm, but he kept fighting, blood soaking his uniform. "I'm good," he said through gritted teeth, switching his weapon to his good hand. They continued climbing, but the mountain was working against them. Steep rock faces, loose shale, cliffs that dropped off into nothing. And all the while, bullets were tearing through the air around them. Marcus felt something hit him in the back. The impact knocked him forward, but his body armor stopped the round. Then another hit his leg. He went down, pain shooting through his body. "Man down!" Matthew called, laying down covering fire. Murphy grabbed Marcus and pulled him behind a boulder. "You're not dying today, brother." But they were running out of options. The Taliban were getting closer, their fire intensifying. The SEALs were burning through ammunition at an alarming rate. Danny's radio had been hit, their primary means of communication destroyed. Murphy looked at the satellite phone in his pack. They had tried to use it multiple times, but the mountains were blocking the signal. There was only one way to get a clear signal. He would have to move into the open, completely exposed to enemy fire. "I'm going to call for help," Murphy told his team. "That's suicide, sir," Marcus said. "You'll be completely exposed." Murphy looked at his men, his brothers. They were wounded, running low on ammunition, surrounded by overwhelming enemy forces. If he didn't make this call, they would all die on this mountain. "Cover me," Murphy said. He moved out from behind cover and walked into a clearing on the slope. Immediately, Taliban fighters saw him and opened fire. Rounds hit the rocks around him, kicked up dirt at his feet. Murphy was hit once, then twice, but he stayed on his feet, the satellite phone pressed to his ear. "This is Red Wings," he said calmly, his voice steady despite the bullets flying around him. "We are under heavy fire. We need immediate extract, multiple casualties. Sending coordinates now." He was hit again, blood spreading across his chest, but he completed the call. He gave their exact position, the enemy strength, everything the rescue force would need to know. Only then did Michael Murphy allow himself to fall. He crawled back to his team, leaving a trail of blood on the rocks. "Help's coming," he said weakly. But the fight was far from over. For another hour, the three remaining SEALs fought desperately. Matthew Axelson, despite being wounded multiple times, continued to engage the enemy with deadly accuracy. Every round he fired found its target. Danny Dietz, bleeding heavily from multiple wounds, refused to stop fighting. "We're SEALs," he said. "We don't quit." Marcus Luttrell, injured and in pain, stayed by Murphy's side, both of them firing at any Taliban fighter who tried to advance on their position. But the numbers were too great. The Taliban were literally climbing over their dead to get closer to the Americans. RPGs were exploding continuously now, the concussions rattling the SEALs' skulls, dirt and rocks raining down on them. Matthew was hit again, a catastrophic wound that he couldn't recover from. He looked at Marcus one last time and nodded, a warrior's goodbye. Then he turned back to the fight and kept firing until he physically couldn't anymore. Danny was next. Despite his youth, despite his talent, despite his incredible courage, the wounds were too severe. He fought until his last breath, his weapon still in his hands. Marcus was alone now, surrounded by the bodies of his brothers, facing an enemy that seemed endless. He was hit repeatedly, his body a mess of wounds, but some primal survival instinct kept him moving. An RPG exploded so close that it launched him off the mountain. Marcus fell tumbling down a rocky cliff face, his body smashing against rocks and trees. He fell at least 50 feet before finally coming to rest in a ravine. He should have been dead. By all logic, by all probability, Marcus Luttrell should have died on that mountain with his brothers. But somehow, impossibly, he was still breathing. Through shattered ribs, through punctured lungs, through a broken back and countless other injuries, Marcus crawled. He crawled away from the sounds of the Taliban fighters still searching the mountain. He crawled through streams to hide his blood trail. He crawled until he couldn't crawl anymore, and then he hid. For hours, Marcus hid in a crevice between rocks, barely conscious, listening to Taliban fighters searching for him. They passed within feet of his position multiple times, but somehow they never found him. As night fell, Marcus knew he couldn't stay there. He had to move, had to find help. With his weapon clutched in his hands, he began moving through the darkness, every step agony. What Marcus didn't know was that the rescue attempt had already turned tragic. When the quick reaction force tried to reach them, a Chinook helicopter carrying 8 more SEALs and 8 Army Night Stalker pilots was shot down by an RPG. All 16 men died instantly. Operation Red Wings had become one of the deadliest days in Special Operations history. Marcus stumbled through the mountains for days, delirious from blood loss and dehydration. At one point, he was found by members of a local Pashtun village. By ancient tribal law called Pashtunwali, they were honor-bound to protect him, even at the cost of their own lives. The villagers hid Marcus and tended to his wounds while the Taliban searched the area. The Taliban threatened the village, demanded they hand over the American, but the villagers refused. They had given their word to protect him, and they would rather die than break that sacred code. One villager risked his life to travel to the nearest American base to tell them there was a survivor. Finally, after days of hiding, a rescue team reached the village and extracted Marcus. When they found him, Marcus Luttrell had over 30 wounds on his body. Both his legs were fractured. He had broken vertebrae, shrapnel wounds everywhere. But he was alive. The bodies of Michael Murphy, Danny Dietz, and Matthew Axelson were eventually recovered from the mountain. Murphy was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his sacrifice. All 4 SEALs received the Navy Cross or Silver Star, among the highest military decorations. The mission that was supposed to be a simple reconnaissance had become a legend of courage and sacrifice. 4 men against an army. 4 brothers who refused to quit, who fought with everything they had, who embodied the SEAL ethos. I will never quit. I persevere and thrive on adversity. If knocked down, I will get back up every time. Marcus Luttrell survived, but he would carry the physical and emotional scars forever. In the years that followed, he wrote a book called Lone Survivor to tell the story of his brothers, to make sure the world would never forget what happened on that mountain in Afghanistan. So, what did you think of this story? It's important for me to tell you that while this is a true story based on real events, some dramatic elements and specific dialogue have been added for narrative purposes. But the core of what happened, the courage, the sacrifice, the brotherhood, that's all real. This actually happened. Operation Red Wings was one of the most documented military operations in recent history. Marcus Luttrell's account, military after-action reports and investigations all confirm the basic facts. 4 SEALs were ambushed by a much larger Taliban force, 3 died heroically, and 1 survived against impossible odds. These men were real. Michael Murphy from New York, who loved his family and wanted to be a prosecutor before becoming a SEAL. Danny Dietz from Colorado, who had dreams of becoming a teacher. Matthew Axelson from California, who was getting married soon. Marcus Luttrell from Texas, who carries the memory of his brothers every single day. Their sacrifice reminds us of the price of freedom, of the men and women who go into the most dangerous places on earth so that we can sleep safely at night. They don't do it for glory or recognition. They do it for their brothers and sisters standing beside them. They do it for us. I want to ask you something. Have you heard stories like this from your own family? Do you know veterans who have served? Maybe someone in your city or town who never talks about what they experienced. These stories are everywhere, and they deserve to be heard. Tell me in the comments, what city are you watching this from? And if you know a veteran, thank them. Not because it's expected, but because they carried a burden that most of us will never understand. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel because I'm going to keep telling these stories. Stories of courage, sacrifice, and the incredible things human beings are capable of when everything is on the line. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And most importantly, never forget the men and women who gave everything so we could have everything. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay grateful, and I'll see you in the next video.